Welcome to another episode of Sincerely Shayna. This is episode 3. We've been talking about having a comeback in your life and analyzing your life, doing a life audit, trying to figure out where exactly your life is now and where you want to be. However, in this episode, I kind of wanted to take just a time to be kind of real and raw. I had recorded an episode, and I always tell you guys that I want to be real and authentic with you. And to be honest, the episode that I was recording, I just don't feel it, if you will. For this episode, I just don't feel it. And I had to ask myself some questions, like, nothing was resonating with me. To be honest, the only thing that was resonating with me, I guess for episode 3, was just feeling a sense of sadness. This week, I just have a heavy heart. I believe it was last Monday, I lost a friend that I used to go wheeling with, and we shared a Lyme disease journey. And I woke up and I was tagged in a picture with her saying that we had lost her. And it just broke my heart. She was a beautiful mom. She had just gotten back from a trip to Honduras. And I just think how short and how precious life is. And I think about the rest of the week. I think about these little baby girls who went off to camp. And within just a few minutes, a flood came and they were no longer there. And they're still being looked for. And having all these parents in the same area missing their babies and finding out their babies didn't make it. And just the state of our world and the hatred and the racism and the things that are happening in our world right now, it just feels heavy. And to be honest, I couldn't get on this podcast and just talk about becoming the greatest version of yourself in happy terms, I suppose, because I feel like sadness, and some of that is part of the healing process, some of that is part of the process you have to go to, because without sadness and without hardships, we can't really appreciate the happy things that happen and the blessings that come out of the ashes, if you will. So I wanted this episode to be real, and I wanted it to be relatable. I don't want to give the polished glow up right now, and I don't want to give all the positivity, I suppose, because I wasn't feeling positive. And that's a part of life. I am here to give the helps and help you think about life, but I'm also here to show the real moments in life too. I mean, there is truth in that you can feel happy and sad at the same time, or you can be grateful for things and grieving. You can be excited, but you can also be exhausted. A woman that's willing to say out loud, I'm holding a lot and it's okay to say so. So this episode is going to be called Holding It All, when you're happy, sad, and carrying the world. Like I said, I'm not going to pretend I have the perfect message all tied up with a pretty little bow ready to deliver to you. Because if you've known me at all, you know that I am a very deep thinker and a deep feeler. I feel a lot all the time. It's just a part of me. I've taken those quizzes of like, okay, are you more logic? Are you more feel? Mine always come out 90% or 96% feeling. I think I have like 4% logic to me. I'm happy, but I'm also saddened at the state of things and losing people and just grieving. I'm sad at carrying dreams that sometimes I just can't seem to let go in the morning of the life that I thought that, I'd be living by now. And I think sometimes it's okay that we admit that we feel like we're carrying the whole entire world. And it doesn't make us weak. It makes us human. A lot of times, and I see a lot of people talk about mental health or not talk about it, because we don't talk about it. We don't talk about mental health stuff because people will think you're crazy. But the truth is mental health is deeper than the words itself. It's your mental health. Just the same as your physical health, your spiritual health, you have your mental health. Those three things are so important for your body to function properly. You need your spiritual health to be in line with what the Lord would have you to do and what you need to do, and be sensitive to your prayers and your blessings and who you are and what you are setting out to be. Your spiritual health is your faith, the things that you believe in, no matter what you believe. Your physical health. If you are struggling physically, I can only talk on what I deal with my Lyme disease. I really try not to give power to my Lyme disease, if I'm fully honest. I try to pretend sometimes that it's not there. But every morning I wake up and my whole body hurts. And it's hard to forget when it's there. And it's hard to talk about sometimes because though I look normal on the outside, on the inside, my body is hurting so bad. And one day I will get to the point where I find a good treatment plan. But it's hard when you are a mom. And it's hard when you are trying to take care of things and you don't have time to be down. And sometimes the pain, I manage enough to be able to do what I need to do, because I try not to focus and dwell on it. The more power I give my pain, the more power I feel like it has over my body. But I know my physical health is worth giving 100% and worth doing the best I can to make sure that I'm eating properly, that I'm doing what I need to do. And I know that goes along with spiritual health, and then we come to the mental health portion of it. My brain, your brain, those things that people don't want to talk about, and the fear and the ick that people get when they hear the word mental health. Oh, how's your mental health? Automatically, people go to craziness. But mental health is literally going hand in hand with physical health, spiritual health, all of those. How's your brain? Maybe that's an easier way to ask somebody, how's your brain? Is your brain hurting right now? Are you feeling a little confused in your brain? Maybe that's a different terminology that we can use. All I know is that your brain is beautiful, no matter how it functions. I'm tired of the stigma around people who struggle with PTSD, people who struggle with depression, anxiety, bipolar, every one of those things. And I'm tired of people looking at people like that, thinking that it's just crazy. If we all remember, we were all given our bodies. We were all given our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors, everything. And somehow, sometimes genetics play into that. We don't know the list of traumas that went on in our families' lives. And sometimes people just struggle with stuff. And it doesn't make another person weak or crazy. It makes people have to be proactive with the body that they're given. When you know that you are not really in alignment in your spirituality, you're going to do the things that you need to do to get back in line. When you know your physical health is not doing very well, you're going to do the things that prevent other things from happening. You're going to find those things that help you and help create your body into the physical form that you want it to be, a healthier form. The same thing with your mental health. Being proactive and making sure, hey, is my brain healthy? It shouldn't be something that people don't acknowledge or talk about. Because I look and I watch women who struggle with these things. I watch men who struggle with these things. And sometimes men don't like to talk about it. It's hard. And I wish that people could open up to the things and the weights that they're carrying, trying to hold it all together. I look at, these different things that I've watched, or I have a newfound love for mamas. When I look at mamas playing with their babies and staying at home and doing all they can to help their babies, teaching them at home, mamas who have just had babies going through the postpartum, and I watch them just feeling so sad, and I think to myself, they're just struggling. They feel like the whole world is on top of them, and they probably feel so lonely. And I just want to encourage you to let you know that sometimes we do feel like we're carrying the whole world. And like I said before, it doesn't make you weak that you have these feelings. It makes you human. If we were sitting together right now, maybe on my couch, and we're having coffee or something, if I could sit there and tell you, I'd say that for me, sometimes it's hard to move forward from what was. The marriage I imagined lasting forever, the version of my family I thought I'd always have, the life that maybe felt safe, even if it wasn't right for me anymore, I still miss parts of it. Sometimes more than I want to admit. And if you feel that too, please know that you're not alone. I think back to when I actually had a home. I had a 3-bedroom home, 2 floors on 5 acres. And I look back at that time in my life, and I'm going to be honest with you, I wish that I had the mindset I do now, because I would have loved to be in that home. That home had the most beautiful land, and I could have done so much with my photography. The home it was beautiful. Everything about it was just beautiful. It had some work it had to have on it, but it was like a 1900s home. And it was out in the middle of the boonies, and it just was a beautiful home. But I remember living in that home and feeling so alone. I was pregnant during the time I lived in this home for a little bit, and then I had our son. And being in the boonies, going through postpartum, taking care of my son, and I just felt very lonely in that year of my life. It just felt very isolating, and being in this home in the middle of nowhere felt even more isolating. And I remember I wanted to give up living in that beautiful home to live in an apartment just so I could see other people. But that's how bad I think that postpartum struck me. I was taking care of Abraham and not near anybody else. And at the time, my ex-husband was working, and I just remember feeling so tired and alone. But I didn't really talk about it. I didn't really tell anybody. I would go to church and be happy and stuff like that, but it was very hard. And I look back now, and I'm like, man, I would give anything to go back to living in a 3-bedroom, beautiful home with 5 acres of land, as opposed to a 2-bedroom apartment. But different times call for different things, and at that moment, that wasn't what I needed in my life. And I miss it now when I look back on it. I miss having that. Life is very different when you become a single mom. And when I tell you I'd never known what that felt like, I never understood until I became one. Becoming a single mother was one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my entire life. Always having somebody around to help and be there and guide me, and then all of a sudden I'm in Arizona as a single mom with my son, trying to navigate divorce, trying to navigate being in a different state, trying to navigate knowing one person that I've known that was my best friend since I was 18, and then trying to figure out my life and what just happened. How did I get to where I was? But I realized that all of the things that I wanted and that I missed about my old life didn't add up to anything, because I still felt alone in it. No matter where I moved, no matter what change of area, because the feeling of loneliness doesn't go away until you start to look within. That's when I had to realize that loneliness doesn't just come from the outside factors, because you could move all over the world and still feel alone. You could do all the things and live in the most grand places and still feel alone. And I realized that until I was okay with who I was on the inside and living with myself and knowing that God had his hands wrapped around me, then I wasn't going to feel like I truly had somebody. Because I can tell you that those dark moments of literally crying in my bed, thinking, here I am, like I've never done this before. I don't really know what I'm doing. And if you've ever been through a divorce or walked through the single mom life or the single dad life, you know how hard that is to watch your child walk through it too. And trying to be happy and help them transition from the only world they'd known. It's hard. But I will say it's not impossible. And I will say through all the hardships, there are lights at the end of the tunnel. There are better days after you get through those hurdles. Unfortunately, some of those days do creep up every now and then and remind you of the things you had, and you just have to kind of keep looking forward. But here's the other truth. Because life is not just one thing. Even as I grieve, I keep dreaming. One day, I'd love to homeschool my boy and travel with my family and explore nature without rushing back to anything else. I would love to be one of those families that lives out of an RV or a van and just drives around the world, taking in the sunsets and the sunrises, and having my son do his homework on the edge of the Grand Canyon while we sit there and take in its beauty. I'm realizing the life I thought I wanted doesn't have to be the life that I still choose. Even though those things were stuff that I was like, oh, this makes life, it doesn't have to be the life that I look forward to. And during this week where I felt sad and thought, man, everything is just sad. I feel sad. I realized that I don't have to let those things that were behind me still define what I want and what I choose. Old things are passed away, and then there are new things. And I have to look that there can be different versions of me. The old Shayna, the old life of Shayna. I get to step out and be a new version of myself. And it's freeing and it's scary at the same time. You might be listening right now and thinking that, wow, this is a really depressing episode. Yeah, it probably is, in a sense. But it's real. You know why it can be uncomfortable? Because I'm talking about things that we don't like to talk about. I'm talking about things that stir up feelings and stir up emotions, and I can guarantee you that none of us really like to talk about feelings and emotions because it touches a portion, like I said before, it touches a room in your house that you don't want to open or you don't want to start looking into. And it gets uncomfortable. And that's okay. And it's okay to be uncomfortable sometimes. Because like I said before, everything that happens in our life, our body doesn't forget. But it's important that we feel those things and take care of them, or else they start taking over control of us. And you might be listening right now feeling like you have to hold it all together for every single person around you, for your kids, for your parents, for your job, for your image. But let me tell you, you're allowed to set everything down. You don't have to pretend it's not heavy. You don't. You don't have to rush your healing or rush the things that you're trying to accomplish. You don't have to figure out your whole life today. You're allowed to be happy and you're allowed to be sad at the same time. I told my husband today because I was just feeling sad for this whole week, and he knows me when I tell you. He can pick up on, when I'm feeling something, and he goes, baby, what's wrong? And I told him, oh, nothing, like 1,000 times. And he's like, are you sure? And he kept looking. He's like, please tell me. And I finally did. I said, I'm happy. I said, but I just feel sad too. And that is an absolute normal thing. You can be happy, but also sad. And you can also be grateful for the things that you have and the things that are around you and the place in life that you're at. But you could also still wish that things were different if you're not fully aligned to where you want to be. This is something that I would love to say to you if you were my best friend. Almost like a love letter to all the women that are listening and who are tired. I know it doesn't feel the same anymore. And I know some days being alone feels like too much. I know you're wondering if you'll ever feel that sense of home again. But I also know this. You are already building something new. And even when you can't see it yet, every small choice you make, every boundary, every moment you honor what's in your heart is proof that you are growing. You're not behind in life. You are becoming that person that you want to be. if you pick up your journal at all, I kind of want to give you some questions that I would love for you just to kind of sit with. And maybe it will help you. Maybe it'll help me. What parts of my old life am I still grieving? What parts of my new life am I starting to desire? Where can I give myself more compassion for caring so much? And what is one small way I can create joy this week just for me? You have so much in you. My husband always tells me, Shana, you are muy fuerte. You are very strong. We as women are strong. And sometimes we carry a bigger mental load. And I encourage you to think of these things. You are allowed to hold all of your feelings. You are allowed to honor what you've lost and now what you're creating. You are allowed to know that you are not behind in life. You are exactly where you need to be. And you can release all that pressure. And you don't have to carry it alone. I just want you to know that if you feel like you're carrying the world today, I resonate with you and I see you. You don't have to set it all down and feel like, okay, well, I'm done. I'm not doing anything anymore. You don't have to feel that. But maybe you can kind of loosen it up. I will tell you something helpful that I've done. I have gotten to the point where I can't keep looking and saying, oh, okay, what is the bill I have to pay? How much do I have in the account? And getting sad every time I see my account. I've had to get to the point where I'm like, you know what? God's already got that taken care of. That money's coming and I don't know where it's coming from, but it's coming. And just something simple today. So you know how Groupon has the little tickets for things? So I did a Groupon for an oil change. And the oil change itself is like $100 and something. But I found a Groupon for I think like $60 or $50, whatever it was. And I purchased it. Well, I know I had went to the place back in April, I think. And I went to go purchase another Groupon because it was due for an oil change. And when I went to go get another Groupon for this oil change, Groupon fizzed out on me and wouldn't let things go through, and it wouldn't let my voucher go through or something. But then it showed that I had a voucher for an oil change, that it wasn't used. And I know the last time I went to this oil change, I marked it as used. I did exactly what the guy said, so I'm not really sure what happened. All I know is I have this voucher in my Groupon that is for an oil change. And when I tell you, I had literally been telling myself, okay, well, this is like $70 I got to put aside for this oil change. And then all of a sudden I have a voucher in my Groupon for that exact oil change. And I even went to try to purchase another, but like I said, Groupon glitched out. So I don't know if that was God being like, hey, I already got you covered. I got to the oil change place and, I told him, I said, he asked me how I was paying. I said, I have a Groupon, and I was waiting for him to tell me, okay, this doesn't match, because if so, I was going to try to figure out how to send the other one through, because it canceled it. I tried to buy it, glitched out on me, and then it said it was canceled. There was a whole bunch of confusion. Anyways, there was no issue. The Groupon was still valid. And I'm like, well, I don't know what happened.